On Christmas Eve, I returned home early and heard a man's voice in the bedroom. Opening the bedroom door and seeing my wife with her personal trainer in a Santa suit, I realized I hadn't just caught her cheating on me. I'd accidentally stumbled into the most humiliating holiday nightmare of my life. By the time I heard the ho 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 from upstairs, I already knew. Not because I'm some kind of Sherlock Holmes of cheating, but because I'd spent the better part of a year trying to catch my wife lying to me and always coming up empty. When I opened the front door that night and heard those sounds coming from our bedroom, it wasn't surprise that hit me first. It was relief. Relief that I wasn't crazy, that the knots in my stomach, the late night overthinking, the weird little clues, they were real. It was all really happening. The house smelled like cinnamon and pine. The Christmas tree in the living room was lit up, twinkling like some Hallmark movie. Ornaments perfectly spaced because my wife, Lena, is that kind of person. Or was. I don't even know which tense to use anymore. The TV was on low with some Christmas rom-com playing. On the coffee table, there were 2 wine glasses, one still half full. Not my glass. I hadn't been home in hours. From upstairs, I heard her. That breathless laugh she does when she's trying to sound cute. Then a low male voice. Muffled. Playful. The bed creaked. Something hit the wall. She shushed him, laughing again. And then he did it. Ho ho ho. I swear for a second, I thought I'd stepped into some sick joke. Like, what kind of cartoon-level affair involves a Santa suit? I just stood there in the hallway, holding my keys so tight my knuckles hurt. I could see my reflection in the glass door of the china cabinet. Pale, eyes wide, still in my work jacket. I looked like someone who'd just seen a ghost. Or a joke they didn't understand yet. My plan, by the way, was not to catch my wife mid-Merry Christmas on top of our marital bed. Technically, I wasn't even supposed to be home. She thought I was on a late emergency shift and then going out with the guys. She thought she had the house to herself. That was kind of the point. You want to know the worst part? I'd rehearsed this moment in my head 100 times. What I'd say, how I'd walk in, whether I'd scream or stay cold and calm, whether I'd film it, whether I'd punch the guy, whether I'd be one of those people who just quietly closes the door and leaves. In every version, I thought I'd feel rage first, but the first sound that came out of my mouth was something between a laugh and a sob. Because of the Santa suit, all those months of suspicion, and my wife picks a dude in a red velvet costume to blow up our marriage. I crept farther into the hallway, sneakers silent on the hardwood. Their voices got clearer. I heard the fake ho 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 again, this time followed by Lena's voice. Giggling. You're ridiculous, stop. My husband will be home later. My husband. Like I was some abstract obstacle, not a real person who still had his work ID hanging around his neck. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. I opened the camera, switched it to video, and hit record. Not because I wanted to go viral or whatever, and I just knew if I didn't catch this now, she'd lie. She always lied. I took a breath, wrapped my fingers around the banister, and started up the stairs. Every step felt like walking backward through time, back through 12 years together, back through our cheap first apartment and our wedding. And that night, we stayed up till 3 a.m., counting coins to see if we could afford pizza. Back through the nights I brushed her hair while she cried about losing her dad. Back through Christmases where she'd drag me out of bed at 6 a.m. to start the magic. Happy memories, yeah, but it all felt like someone else's life as I listened to my wife moan for a man dressed as Santa Claus. By the time I reached the bedroom door, I was weirdly calm. Numb, almost. The moaning stopped for a second. I heard shuffling, whispering. The bed springs squeaked again. Someone laughed. I turned the doorknob slowly. Not kicked in, not slammed open. Just turned it. And as that door swung in and I saw exactly what I'd always known was waiting on the other side, I swear my brain did that thing where everything slows down and pulls apart into pieces. Lena's hair all messy, twisted around her fingers. His red coat half open, white fur trim slipping off his shoulder. The Santa hat crooked on the nightstand next to a roll of wrapping paper and our family Christmas stockings. And both of them frozen, staring at me like I was the intruder. That's where the story really starts. But you don't understand how I got to this point unless I tell you everything that happened before. Because I didn't just walk in on my wife and Santa by accident. I built my way here, suspicion by suspicion, like stringing lights on a tree until the whole ugly thing finally lit up. If you'd asked anyone who knew us a year ago, they would have said Lena and I were that couple. You know the type. Holiday cards with matching sweaters, inside jokes at family dinners. The people who host Christmas Eve every year because you guys just do it so nicely. Lena loved that image more than anything. The perfectly curated life. Our little house with the white lights and the wreath on the door. The Instagram photos of us sipping cocoa at the Christmas market. She lived for that stuff. I loved her, so I went along with it. We'd been together since we were 20, married by 24. We were supposed to be endgame, you know? The first sign that something was off didn't feel like a sign at all. It was just her phone. We'd always been pretty open with our devices, not in a we check each other's messages way, just no big secrets. If mine buzzed and I was in the shower, she'd tell me who it was. If she needed to Google something, she'd grab my phone without asking, and vice versa. Then, around last spring, she started keeping her phone face down. At first, I didn't register it. We'd be watching TV, and if I got up, she'd casually slide her phone under a cushion. Little things. The first time I really noticed, we were at dinner. Her phone lit up on the table with a message preview that I couldn't help catching. "Can't wait to see you again," from someone named Nate Jim. I raised an eyebrow. New trainer? She moved so fast she almost knocked over her wine, flipping the phone. "Yeah, he's just annoying. Keeps pushing these extra sessions." She made a face and rolled her eyes in that ugh men way, and I just believed her. Because she's my wife. Because why wouldn't I? A week later, I came home early from work with takeout. Her car was in the driveway, but the house was dark. I went inside, called her name. No answer. Her gym bag was by the door. Her keys, wallet, and phone were on the counter. In the middle of the kitchen island was a little note scribbled on a sticky pad. "Running out for a bit. Don't wait up if you're tired. L." Something about that "for a bit" bugged me. It was too vague. Lena is specific. Going to Target. Going to Jess's. Going to the gym. I tried calling her just to check in and heard her ringtone in the kitchen, next to her phone. I remember standing there like an idiot, listening to the muffled ringtone, staring at the little heart she'd drawn at the bottom of the note. She came home 2 hours later, cheeks flushed, hair in a messy bun, smelling like a mix of cold air and the fancy vanilla body spray she keeps for dates and holidays. "Where'd you go?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Oh, Jess had a mini crisis," she said, kicking off her boots. "She needed to talk. Girly stuff, you know." I knew Jess pretty well. The woman cannot have a crisis without live updating her entire group chat and posting vague quotes on Instagram. I checked later. Nothing. That was the first time I heard the little voice in the back of my head. The one that said, "That doesn't quite add up, does it?" I ignored it. I didn't want to be that husband. The paranoid one, the jealous one, the guy who turns into a cop with his own wife. Then the gym charges started. We share a credit card. I noticed a $120 charge from her gym on a week where I knew our membership was already paid. "Hey, is the gym raising prices?" I asked one night as we were going over bills. Lena barely looked up. "Oh, no, I just booked a couple of PT sessions. New year, new me, remember? It was March, but whatever." "Who's your trainer?" I asked, more to make conversation than anything. She shrugged. "Some new dude. Nate. He's whatever." Nate. Jim. Nate. "Is he good?" I asked. She rolled her eyes. "He's fine. Pushy. Keeps trying to get me to sign up for this holiday body package like, relax, it's not Christmas." She laughed, but she didn't look at me when she said it. That night, she fell asleep early on the couch. Her phone slipped out of her hand. I picked it up to plug it in, and my thumb must have brushed the screen because it lit up. There on the lock screen, a new notification. Nate, Jim. "Still thinking about last time? That outfit should be illegal." I froze. I just stood there, phone in hand, heart beating in my throat. 100 rational explanations rushed in at once. Maybe he's just one of those gross, flirty trainers. Maybe she'd complained about him and blocked him, and that was an old notification. Maybe it was a group chat, and I was misreading it. I didn't open it. I didn't scroll. I didn't snoop. I put the phone on the charger and stared at the ceiling all night, listening to my wife breathe next to me and feeling like someone had tilted my whole world half an inch off center. That was the first night I thought, I need to catch her in a lie. For my own sanity. Not to prove she was cheating, to prove she wasn't. I wish I could tell you I handled things like a functional adult and just sat Lena down and said, "Hey, this Nate guy, what's up with that?" But I'd already tried the just talk about it thing with smaller stuff, and every time I brought up something that didn't sit right, she made me feel crazy. Like the night I asked why she suddenly needed to work late 3 times a week when her office hadn't changed hours. She sigh-laughed and said, "Mark, I'm up for a promotion. I'm allowed to have a career, you know." Like I was some 1950s husband asking why dinner wasn't on the table. Or when I mentioned Jess hadn't posted anything about their supposed girls' night, and she gave me this tight smile and said, "You know Jess, she's private," about the same woman who once live-blogged her Brazilian wax. Every time I questioned something, even gently, the conversation ended with her crossing her arms and saying, "Do you even trust me?" And then I'd end up apologizing. So, yeah, I turned into a cliche. I went covert. My first attempt at playing detective was pathetic. I accidentally left for work one morning, drove around the block, and parked down the street to see if she really went to the gym when she said she did. She did. I sat there for half an hour, sipping gas station coffee, watching her walk in her leggings and oversized hoodie, gym bag slung over her shoulder. A guy pulled up a few minutes later. Tall, beard, early 30s, wearing the standard P uniform polo. He slapped her on the shoulder, they laughed about something, and went inside together. I told myself that was normal. Trainers greet. Clients, people laugh. Still, I Googled the gym when I got to work. Trainers bios. There he was. Nathan Cole, strength and conditioning specialist, helping you become your best self. I clicked his Instagram. Public, of course. Mostly workout videos, gym selfies, and the occasional thirst trap photo where he just happens to be caught mid-rep. with his shirt off and abs glistening. Classic. In one of the group class photos, I recognized Lena's neon sports bra in the background. Harmless, right? Except a month later, Lena started locking her phone. We'd always had each other's passcodes, mostly for convenience. Suddenly, it was Face ID only. She changed the code because work makes us update them. One night, she left her phone on the dining table while she went to the bathroom. It buzzed twice. I swear I didn't mean to look, but my eyes flicked over and saw the notification banner before she could grab it. "And you sure he bought it?" She snatched it up so fast it hit her fork. I laughed, trying to play dumb. "Work drama?" "Yeah," she said. No details, no smile, just a single word shut down. I started noticing other things. New lingerie I'd never seen before. Tags cut off and stuffed deep in the trash. Shaving more often, even though our own sex life had turned sporadic. Switching her perfume to something more expensive because it was on sale, but never wearing it around me. By Halloween, I was a wreck. I'd gone through her glove compartment, nothing. Her gym bag, just the usual stuff. Even the pockets of her coats, receipts, gum wrappers, a crumpled love note from me from years ago that made my chest hurt. What I didn't find was anything concrete. No hotel bills, no mystery charges, no lipstick on collars or random earrings in the car, just vibes, suspicion, a whole lot of smoke with no visible fire. I started thinking maybe I really was losing it. Maybe I'd become that guy. Then Christmas started creeping up. If Lena worshipped anything, it was Christmas. She treated the whole month of December like a sacred festival. We had traditions for everything. Tree shopping the first weekend, hot chocolate at the outdoor market, wrapping gifts while watching Elf. She even made a big deal out of us decorating the house in matching pajamas. So when she suddenly wasn't that into it this year, I knew something was really wrong. "Hey, tree farm this Saturday?" I asked one night in late November. She was half watching TV, half typing on her phone. "I might have to work," she said. "Year-end deadlines. We can just go to the lot near the grocery store instead." She'd literally made fun of those lot trees every year since I met her. "You? Settling for a parking lot tree?" I joked. She forced a laugh. "Look at you being the Christmas princess now." Her eyes never left her phone. A few days later, a charge popped up on the card. Costume. Kingdom. $89.99. I stared at it for a long time. "Hey, you buying some kind of costume?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "Oh," she said, barely missing a beat. "Secret Santa thing at work. They're doing a charity event for the kids' hospital. I volunteered you as Santa, actually." "You what?" She finally looked up and smiled, all sweet and innocent. "Come on, you'll be adorable. You'll just put on the suit, hand out candy canes, go ho 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 to some kids. It's for charity. Don't be grinchy." And just like that, she'd turned a weird, unexplained charge into me being a bad person if I questioned it. I let it go for about 3 hours. Then I checked my email. There was a shipping notification for the costume. One Santa suit, size large. One matching Mrs. Claus dress set. Only one of those items had my name on it. The Santa suit arrived in a big plastic bag that crinkled like wrapping paper. She made a whole show of it, ripping it open at the kitchen table, holding the jacket up to my chest. "Oh my God, this is perfect," she said, laughing. "You're gonna look so cute." I forced a smile. "Where's your outfit?" "Thought you said you were doing this thing too." She didn't miss a beat. "Oh, no, that was just in the set. The Mrs. Claus thing is way too short for work. I'll just wear my ugly sweater. Maybe Jess will take it. She's got the legs for it." If I hadn't already seen the shipping email with her name next to the dress, I might have bought that. The charity event, according to her, was December 23rd. Kids from the hospital would be brought to her office building. Santa, me, would hand out presents. Everyone would feel warm and fuzzy and forget about capitalism for a few hours. Cute. Except nobody at her work mentioned it when I ran into one of her coworkers, Emma, at the grocery store. "Hey, so Lena signed me up to play Santa for your big kid thing?" I said, half joking, half fishing. Emma blinked. "Kid thing? The hospital charity event on the 23rd? I pushed. Her eyebrows knit. The toy drive? That's just donations. We're not hosting anyone. Liability reasons, our HR guy freaks out about that stuff." I felt my stomach drop. "Oh," I said, "maybe I misunderstood." That night, I brought it up with Lena. "So, Emma says there's no kids event at your office?" She looked up from her laptop, eyes wide like she'd been caught copying homework. Then she recovered quickly. "Yeah, they canceled the in-person thing because of some insurance stuff," she said. "But I still thought maybe we could dress up and do a little video for the kids or something. I'll figure it out, don't worry." Every instinct in me was screaming now. "You know what would help?" I said carefully. "If we just put everything on the calendar. Your late nights. This Santa video thing. I keep feeling like we're missing each other lately." Her face hardened just a fraction. "I'm sorry my schedule isn't convenient for you," she said, voice cool. "You know, I'm trying to keep my job and make Christmas happen for us, and you're complaining about a calendar?" "I'm not complaining," I said, hands up. "I'm just trying to feel included in my own life, Lena." She slammed the laptop shut. "You're smothering me," she snapped. "This constant checking and questioning, it's suffocating. I can't breathe without you looking over my shoulder." That was rich coming from the woman who used to text me 3 times if I didn't answer her within 10 minutes. We went to bed angry that night, laying back to back, the air between us thick with words we weren't saying. That's when I decided to stop trying to talk and start trying to prove. Over the next week, I put together what I now dramatically refer to as Operation Christmas Trap. Nothing high-tech. I'm not some spy, just little things. Location sharing. I turned mine back on for safety and casually mentioned it, hoping she'd reciprocate. She didn't, so I slipped my old AirTag into the lining of her gym bag when she wasn't looking. Hidden cameras. Not the creepy bathroom type. Just a couple of those cheap motion-activated ones I told her I'd gotten for package thieves. One in the living room facing the front door. One in the hallway at the bottom of the stairs. The fake shift. I told her my boss had put me on a weird late shift on December 23rd and 24th because someone else's kids were sick. Annoying, but hey, over time. She acted appropriately sympathetic, but I swear I saw a flash of something. Calculation, maybe. The neighbor. Our next-door neighbor, Tom, is retired and spends approximately 6 hours a day looking out his front window. I ran into him and mentioned we might be getting some deliveries around the 23rd that contained expensive stuff, and I'd really appreciate if he kept an eye out for any strange visitors. He patted my shoulder and told me nothing happened on our street without him knowing, which, honestly, I believe. By December 22nd, I was exhausted. The AirTag had shown normal locations. Work, gym, Target, nothing scandalous. The cameras had caught her coming and going, sometimes alone, sometimes with bags of groceries. No Santa. Part of me thought, maybe you're about to humiliate yourself for no reason. Maybe you're going to catch her wrapping presents with Jess, and then you'll be the asshole who set up spy cams on his own wife. Then, on the morning of the 23rd, I checked the AirTag before leaving for my shift. Her gym bag was not at the gym. It pinged from a hotel 10 minutes from our house. I stared at the little blue dot on the map, my coffee going cold in my hand. I told myself there had to be a reason. Maybe she'd gone to meet a friend. Maybe she'd stopped for brunch and left the bag in the car. Maybe the thing was glitching. So I sat in my own car in the work parking lot watching the AirTag. It didn't move for 2 hours. Finally, at 11:47 a.m., it pinged back at home. When I came home from my shift at 6 p.m., she was in the kitchen making gingerbread cookies, flour on her nose like some movie set. "Hey, how was work?" she asked, kissing my cheek. "Dead," I said, hugging her back, inhaling her perfume. Not the usual one. Something muskier. Her gym bag sat by the back door, exactly where she always dropped it. "Good workout today?" I asked, nodding at it. She didn't even flinch. "Yeah," she said. "I'm sore. Nate really pushed me." She rolled her shoulders like she'd been lifting, not whatever else. That was it. Something in me snapped into place. I didn't confront her. I just smiled, helped decorate cookies, and told her I might be home even later tomorrow night because things were crazy at work before Christmas. She laughed and said, "Don't worry, Santa will hold down the fort." I didn't sleep at all that night. December 24th, Christmas Eve. Technically December 24th afternoon, but when your whole life is about to explode, time becomes this slippery, useless thing. Lena thought I was working a full day and then grabbing drinks with some coworkers. She'd even encouraged it. "You should unwind," she'd said, giving me a kiss. "You've been so tense lately." "Yeah, I wonder why." I left at 8 a.m., drove a few blocks, then looped back and parked behind the little park 2 streets over. From there, I could see our driveway if I craned my neck. The cameras were live on my phone, but I needed to see it myself. Around 11 a.m., Lena left in leggings and a long coat, gym bag slung over her shoulder. She got in her car and drove off. The AirTag followed the same path as the day before. That same hotel. I waited. I watched the little blue dot on my phone sit there. My heart thudded with every minute that ticked by. At 1:07 p.m., the dot moved again. Home. I switched to the camera feed. The living room one caught her front door opening. Lena walked in, looking freshly showered, hair damp, cheeks flushed. She set down the gym bag, looked around like she was listening for something, then smiled to herself. She checked her phone, typed something, then walked out of frame. My chest felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. I could have stormed in right then. I was 3 minutes away. She was alone. I could have confronted her about the hotel, the lies, everything. Instead, I waited. Because something about the way she smiled at her phone, I knew someone else was coming. At 2:30 p.m., a car I didn't recognize pulled into our driveway. I watched on the camera as a tall man got out carrying a garment bag. He wore a baseball cap pulled low, his jaw covered in a beard. Even from a grainy video feed, I recognized him. Nate. Of course it was Nate. He rang the bell in this quick little pattern like they'd agreed on it in advance. Lena opened the door almost immediately, glancing out onto the street quickly before pulling him inside. Then she did it. She jumped up and wrapped her arms around his neck, kissing him. I don't know why that part hurt more than the hotel. Maybe because that was our doorway, our threshold, the place where she used to stand every December with a mug of cocoa for me when I came home late. I recorded the whole thing. They disappeared into the house together. The camera showed them moving around, living room, kitchen, then up the stairs. At one point, Nate walked through the frame carrying the garment bag, laughing. He reached in and pulled out something red and fluffy, the Santa suit. He did this exaggerated pretend belly rub, like, "Look at me, I'm Santa," and Lena doubled over laughing. I sat there in my car watching some other man play dress up in the costume my wife told me she'd bought for me, in the house I helped pay for, under the roof where we'd planned to start a family. I don't remember getting out of the car. I just remember suddenly being on my own front porch, key in the lock, my phone recording in my other hand. The house smelled like her lotion and his cologne, undercut with the pine from the tree. The TV in the living room played Christmas music low, 2 wine glasses on the table, a half-empty bottle. I could hear them upstairs. I don't need to describe what I heard. You can imagine it. Bed creaks, breathy laughs, muffled words. At one point he actually said, "Naughty girl," and I almost puked. Then he did the ho 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 thing, and something in me snapped from heartbreak to this cold, hard clarity. I hit record. I walked up the stairs one at a time, each step feeling weirdly detached, like I was controlling someone else's body in a video game. At the top of the landing, I paused. My hand hovered over the doorknob. For a split second, I thought about turning around, leaving, letting them go on, filing for divorce quietly, never having to see the actual moment. Then I pictured Lena looking me in my face later, crying and saying, "It was just once," or "We only kissed," or "It didn't mean anything," or "You're imagining things." I turned the knob. The door swung open. They froze. Lena was on her knees on the bed, hair a mess, shirt somewhere on the floor. Nate was behind her, red coat flapping open, Santa pants halfway down, hat askew on his head like some grotesque parody of a Christmas card. For a full 3 seconds, nobody said anything. I just stood there, my phone up, recording. Nate scrambled backward, yanking at his pants, falling off the side of the bed in the process. The Santa hat flew across the room and landed near my dresser. Lena made this strangled sound. "Mark?" she gasped, eyes huge. "What are you? I thought you were at work?" I finished for her, my voice sounding weirdly calm in my own ears. "Yeah, you did think that, didn't you?" Nate reached for his shirt, stammering. "Dude, I cut him off. If you call me dude in my own bedroom, I'm going to forget I'm not supposed to go to jail today," I said quietly. He shut up. Lena scrambled for the sheet, wrapping it around herself like that made this less obscene somehow. "It's not what it looks like," she blurted out, because of course she did. "We were just—" I let out a laugh that sounded like it came from someone else. "If you say you were just talking, I'm sending this entire video to your mother," I said. Her face crumpled. "Please don't film this," she whispered. I tilted the phone so she could see the red recording dot. "I've been trying not to film this for months, Lena. You didn't give me much of a choice." Nate cleared his throat, trying to muster some dignity while still half-dressed. "Look, man, this is between you and her, okay? I'm just gonna walk out of my house in a Santa suit?" I said. "Be my guest, Saint Nick." He grabbed his pants and jacket, fumbling to pull them on. The beard dangled from his neck like some pathetic symbol of whatever fantasy they'd been acting out. As he edged past me toward the door, I stepped aside just enough to let him squeeze by. "You might want to pick a hotel farther away next time," I said softly. "The one you guys use has terrible AirTag reception." He went pale. Lena gasped. "You followed me?" she demanded, like I was the creep here. I finally felt the anger rise. "Yeah, wild, right? My bad for being suspicious when my wife started lying about charity Santa events and spending her gym time at a motel with her personal trainer." Nate muttered something that sounded like, "I'm sorry, man," and bolted down the stairs. A second later, I heard the front door slam, and then it was just us. Me, my cheating wife, the lingering scent of sex and peppermint body wash, and a Santa suit crumpled on the floor like the punchline to the worst joke of my life. I wish I could tell you the rest was clean and simple. Like, "I caught her," she confessed. "We divorced," the end. Roll credits. But real life is messier than that. It drags, it lingers, it makes you question everything, including yourself. That first conversation after Nate left was a blur of accusations, tears, and half-truths. "How long?" I asked, pacing the foot of the bed because I couldn't bear to sit on it. She had the blanket clutched around her like a shield, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "It was just a few times," she said. "It's not like—" "How long?" My voice cracked. She swallowed. "Since June," she whispered. I did the math in my head. 6 months, half a year. Our entire summer, the weekend getaway. She couldn't make because of work. The nights I lay awake next to her thinking I was paranoid. "With Nate only?" I asked, terrified of the answer. She hesitated. I laughed, short and sharp. "Wow, you had to think about that?" "It was never about replacing you," she said quickly, the words tumbling over each other. "I love you, Mark. I do. It's just, I felt invisible. You were working so much. We were in a routine. He made me feel—" "Spare me the cliché," I snapped. "He made you feel alive. Special, seen, whatever. You know what would have made you feel seen? Saying, 'Hey, I'm unhappy,' not screwing Santa in our bed." She flinched. "You've been distant too," she shot back, desperate now. Always tired, always on your phone, never in the mood. You think this is all on me? I stared at her. Yeah, I said slowly. I think the cheating is all on you, actually. Wild take, I know. She sobbed harder. I never meant for it to go this far, she hiccuped. He just flirted at first, and then we started talking, and I didn't know how to stop, But you knew how to order a matching Mrs. Claus dress, I interrupted. You knew how to lie about a charity event. You knew how to look me in the eyes and tell me I was paranoid when I asked basic questions. She covered her face with her hands. Please don't tell my family, she whispered. Please, Mark. My mom will never forgive me, and my dad, it'll kill him. We can fix this. We can go to therapy. It's Christmas. We can start over. I actually felt nauseous. Lena, I said quietly, I walked in on you cheating on me in a Santa suit in our bed. You have permanently ruined Christmas. Do you understand that? There is no Hallmark redemption arc for this. She reached out then, fingers trembling, like she could physically pull me back into the life we had before. I stepped away. I'm going to stay at Tom's tonight, I said flatly. You can stay here. I'm not going to throw you out on Christmas Eve. But when I come back tomorrow, we're talking about logistics. Lawyers, who gets what? All of it. Her eyes went wide. You're really going to divorce me? Over one mistake? One? I repeated. She shut her mouth. I walked downstairs, the scent of gingerbread turning my stomach. On the way out, I picked up the Santa hat from the floor, stared at it for a second, then dropped it in the trash. Tom didn't even act surprised when I showed up with an overnight bag and red-rimmed eyes. Come in, son, was all he said. Later that night, after a couple of stiff drinks, he admitted he'd seen that trainer boy going into my house twice before. Didn't want to say anything unless I was sure, he muttered. Guess I was too late. Christmas Day was a warped version of what it was supposed to be. Instead of coffee and presents under the tree, Lena and I sat at opposite ends of the couch while she tried to negotiate the terms of our breakup like she was haggling at a yard sale. What if we separate for a while instead? She asked. Take some time. See if we can— No, I said, staring at the twinkling lights. I'm not interested in being plan B until you get bored of whoever's next. I'm done. She kept oscillating between sobbing apologies and getting defensive. You weren't perfect either, she said at one point, eyes flashing. You always make me the bad guy, but you shut down emotionally. You never complimented me anymore. I held up my hand. If I was a crappy husband sometimes, I'm sorry, I said. Seriously, I probably could have done better. But here's the difference. I didn't cheat. I didn't bring another woman into our bed and dress her up as an elf while you were at work. Her jaw clenched. We never did an elf thing, she muttered. I barked out a humorless laugh. Thanks for the clarification. I moved out 2 weeks later. We're in the middle of the legal stuff now. She's fighting for more of the house than I think is fair. I'm fighting the urge to send that video to every mutual friend who messages me some version of, Lena says you just walked out. What happened? So far, only 3 people know the full story. My lawyer, Tom, and now, you. Because here's the thing. I've watched enough of these stories online to know that if I just say, my wife cheated, people will fill in the blanks with their own assumptions. They'll say, it's never just one person's fault. They'll ask if I did enough, if I tried hard enough, if maybe I drove her to it. So I wanted to lay it all out. Every ignored gut feeling, every little lie, every tiny piece of myself I smothered because I didn't want to be jealous or controlling. Every time she made me feel crazy for noticing patterns she was actively creating. And yeah, the Santa suit. Because if there's ever been a metaphor for how ridiculous my life got, it was standing in my bedroom on Christmas Eve, watching my wife's lover adjust his fake beard while his pants were still around his knees. Right now, I'm in a small apartment with a plastic tree I bought from a drugstore because the idea of going to the real tree farm without her physically hurt. The Santa suit is probably still in the trash under my old kitchen sink. Everyone keeps asking how I'm doing. I don't know how to answer that. Some days I feel weirdly okay, free even. Like I've stepped out of a snow globe that someone else was shaking just to watch me tumble around. Other days I hear a Christmas song in a store and my chest tightens so fast I have to walk out. The only thing I know for sure is this. If your gut is screaming at you for months, listen, you're not crazy just because someone keeps telling you that you are. And if you ever find yourself ordering a Santa suit for charity while your spouse's eyes never quite meet yours, check the receipt twice. Anyway, that's my story. I'm the guy who spent half a year trying to catch his wife in a lie and ended up catching her red-handed making love to Santa right before Christmas. So I guess my question for you, for whoever ends up hearing this, is simple. If you were me, would you have sent that video to everyone? Or is walking away and letting the ghost of Santa do the haunting punishment enough?